So, last class we discussed how 3 steps are required to read a data from the memory and how the similar 3 steps are required for writing a data into memory, right. And memory is divided into number of locations and each location is divided into number of cells and each cell is capable of storing either 0 or 1. This is what last class we discussed. So, the way we identify a particular memory location, in the same way we can identify an input or output device by giving an address. Then the data which will be transferred either from microprocessor to memory or from memory to microprocessor or input device to microprocessor or from microprocessor to output device. So, this is what we discussed. And what is the significance of control signals? That will give a direction to the concerned location or memory system or device for memory read operation or memory write operation, input read operation or output write operations, because at any point of time these 4 operations are to be carried out and these are all under the control of microprocessor. Not only microprocessor 8085, the same principle also applies to 8086 and 8051 or any microprocessor of any manufacturer or of any design, right. So, these are the basic you can say the characteristics of the microprocessor of all microprocessors. And whenever we discuss about a particular microprocessor, for example 8085, we have to clearly mention how many address lines are used, how many data lines are used and how many control lines are used, right. And already I have told you for microprocessor 8085 there are 16 address lines, and due to these 16 address lines the maximum capacity of the microprocessor 8085 memory is 64 kilobytes, 2 to the power 16, 2 to the power 10 1 kilobyte and 2 to the power 6 means 64. Is it okay? And how many data lines are there? 8. And these 8 data lines will transfer the data parallelly from microprocessor to memory or from memory to microprocessor or microprocessor to output device or from input device to microprocessor. So, we can say that these address lines and data lines, they will be holding the data parallelly, simultaneously. Serially means if you send the data bit by bit, suppose you are sending 8 bits and for transferring 8 bits, assume that for transferring 1 bit it takes 1 second. For serial communication it will take 8 seconds, but for parallel communication it will take 1 second because of 8 different address or data wires are present. That is what we call the parallel communication or serial communication. So, fortunately 8085 microprocessor supports both. Whenever the parallel data is to be transferred, then you can make use of the address and data bus. And whenever serially, whenever you want to transfer the data serially from microprocessor to any device or from any device to microprocessor, there are 2 specific pins. One is called SID, serial input data, another is called serial output data. So, SID and SOD. So, they are the 2 specific or special pins available in 8085 chip or microprocessor which will support the serial data transmission. And if you want to transfer the data parallelly, then you have to make use of that 16 address or data lines. As I told you, though there is a requirement of 24 lines for supporting address and data, we are using only 16 address lines. The upper 8 bits, that is least significant bits starting from A0 to A7 are multiplexed with data bits D0 to D7. That is called the multiplexed bus. So, anyway, and this they are the main features of 8085 microprocessor. The first one is an 8-bit parallel CPU. What is the meaning of this 8-bit parallel CPU? Because as I told you, the designation of microprocessor is very important. The microprocessors are easily identified by their designation. Instead of their names, 8085 is different from 8086. So, 8-bit parallel CPU means you will understand the capability of the ALU. ALU stands for arithmetic and logical unit. Its capability is 8-bit. It is not just because of the 8-bit data bus. So, most oftenly we confuse that data bus size is of 8-bit, therefore, its designation is 8-bit. It is not like that. Even there are microprocessors whose data bus size may be 8-bit, but ALU capability can be 16-bit. Therefore, its designation is 16, not 8. Am I clear? For example, the microprocessor 8088, which is the first microprocessor used in the digital computer. When the digital computer came to the market, the first microprocessor was 8088, which is somewhere in between 8085 and 8086. Okay. So, its ALU capability is 16 bits, but data bus size is 8 bit. At a time only 8 bit data can be transferred. Am I clear? So, therefore, it is a 16 bit microprocessor because its ALU can process 16 bit at a time. Is it okay? So, this is how we give a designation to the microprocessor based upon its ALU capability. And you know that CPU is divided into 3 components. One is ALU, another is control unit, and third is the set of registers. Right. So, this is the first point is very clear. So, we are thinking of an 8-bit parallel CPU. Parallel means 8-bit data can be transferred simultaneously at the same time. That is what we mean the parallel. And parallel comes because it also supports serial. 8085 microprocessor also supports serial communication. Then this is implemented using either NMOS, HMOS or CMOS technology. So, these are the semiconductor technologies. So, we will not go deeper into that because this is mostly coming in another subject, that is called digital electronics. You might have studied somewhere that how the NMOS is different from HMOS and CMOS. So, how to differentiate these 3 technologies? Based upon the number of transistors and capacitors and resistors supported by each of these, and its density and the power consumption, how much power it consumes. So, based upon these are developed, and out of this CMOS is the most efficient one in the sense that it consumes very less power, because power requirement is also an important feature in microprocessor. We shall see that each and every component needs a power, and that power will be given by the power supply unit, and that is connected to the each and every component of the microcomputer system, right. So, this is what we call the implementation issues, the way the IC is designed and manufactured, because it is an IC, chip integrated circuit. So, anyway, so it is a 40-pin IC package fabricated on a single chip. The meaning is that it is an IC of 40 pins, where in the left side you will get 20 pins and in the right side you will get another 20 pins, and each and every pin is important for us. Therefore, we shall exclusively discuss the function of each pin, and you need not remember the pin numbers or its structure, its organization, but certainly you have to remember the functions of that particular pin. For example, the address pin, we want to connect 16 address lines. So, there are 16 pins allocated for the address, and there are 8 pins allocated for the data pins, which is 8 out of these 16. We do not have exclusive pins for the data bus or address bus, because the multiplexing is possible. So, out of 40, straight away 16 pins are allocated or assigned for the address and data lines. Then only thing is that the remaining pins we have to discuss, and slowly we will see that each and every pin function is clearly defined depending on its use, right. For example, if you want to give power supply to the microprocessor 8085, at least 2 pins are required. One is for positive, another is for negative. So, plus 5 volt DC and another is ground. So, the two pins are engaged for the power supply, right. Likewise, you shall describe each and the function of each and every pin of 8085 microprocessor. So, the next feature is the clock frequency of 3, it varies from 3 megahertz to 5 megahertz, but mostly the microprocessor kit whatever we are using in the laboratory, it is 5 megahertz, but 3 megahertz 8085 is also available. And last class I had illustrated that how clock frequency is important in finding the execution time of an instruction, or the kind of operation we do in a microprocessor can be easily tracked if the clock frequency is known, right. So, frequency means the reciprocal of time, or time is the reciprocal of frequency, and once you know the frequency you can find out the time. So, if the frequency is high, the time period will be less. The meaning is that if a microprocessor is of a high frequency, then it can execute the operations faster. Is it okay? It can execute the operation faster if it is high frequency. Now, the question comes, if you have 5 megahertz, why it can't be 10 megahertz? Why it can't be 20 megahertz? So that the execution will be faster. What is the constraint? And why the microprocessors are not increasing the frequency, or the time when the microprocessor 8085 came to the market, why the designer could not make it 10 megahertz or 20 megahertz, where the today's microprocessor supports in terms of gigahertz. If you see the latest computer we are using, its clock frequency is 3 gigahertz, and 3 gigahertz means its time period is 0.3 nanosecond. So, before 20 years we were in microsecond range, but now we are in the nanosecond range. So, what is the constraint? Why we are not increasing the clock frequency, or why the clock frequency of a microprocessor cannot be increased arbitrarily to support frequent operation or high speed operation? Can you guess what is the reason? If you make the things faster, what is the problem? I can just give a small example. Suppose you are asked to run 100 kilometers per hour. Can you run? But if I tell you run 1 kilometer per hour, 1 kilometer per hour. So, where is you see 1 kilometer per hour for a human being and 100 kilometers per hour for a human being. That means, in 1 hour you have to move 100 kilometers. 1 kilometer per hour means you have to move 1 kilometer in 1 hour. So, what is the problem? And both are not possible. Why? 100 kilometers per hour is not simply possible for a human being. And if it tries even, what will happen? That we cannot predict what will happen. Is it okay? And if it is 1 kilometer per hour, what is the problem? Its potential is underutilized. He is still capable of running at a higher rate, but he is not moving. So, we cannot afford to be very slow and we cannot afford to be very fast. So, there is the optimization. Now, it becomes an optimization problem, and the designer suggested that if you make 5 megahertz, all the components they will be working fine, but the moment we increase the clock frequency, and these are all suggested in the after experimenting in the laboratory. So, this is the ideal performance. So, whenever you set 3 to 5 megahertz, the components will be working fine, otherwise the durability of that microprocessor will be reduced. It cannot last for 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. Am I clear? So, the moment you allow the speed of operation of a microprocessor, the devices which are used in the microprocessor will be heated and the temperature will be high. Am I clear? And because of this temperature, high temperature, the components can be burnt. and that is the main reason why the clock frequencies are not increased arbitrarily. But when the technology changed, the VLSI technology, as I told you, it was drastically upgraded or changed in future years, for which even if you increase the clock frequencies, the components were sustained without any problem, and that is the main reason why we have 3 gigahertz frequency. Again the same question comes, if we are finding 3 gigahertz, we can make it 6 gigahertz also, but 6 gigahertz is not possible because the durability of the microprocessor will be reduced and your machines will be destroyed within 1 year or 6 months. Am I clear? So, once you increase the clock frequency, the temperature or the heat that is generated due to faster operation will be a problem. So, therefore, the clock frequency is decided after design and experiment in the microprocessor laboratory. Then it will be tested also, and if the tested after testing, if it is found okay, then it will be released to the market. And that releasing time to the market it should be also very less, within 6 months, because the technology changing in every 6 months. So, unless you make it suitable to be available in the market, what will happen? Another new concept might have come that would be ready to be marketed. So, these are all the constraints for the for not increasing the clock frequency arbitrarily. So, anyway, then low power consumption, that is it consumes the power 50 milliwatt, and power down mode, it is having a power down mode, just like your sleep state in the mobile phones. If you keep the mobile phone sleep mode, it will consume less power, and of course, if you switch off the complete mobile, it will be again 0, right. So, this power down mode allows to save the power. There are 2 states, one is called hold state, another is called halt state. So, we can switch between hold and a halt, and we shall see what is halt and what is hold. In fact, these are the 2 pins, 2 signals available in the microprocessor 8085. So, next, as I told you, uses a multiplexed address and data bus, that is 8-bit address bus and 8-bit data bus. So, that A0 to A7 only the lower order bits, not the higher order bits. Higher order bits is exclusively used for the address bus, that is A8 to A15, that we cannot change, that is exclusively used for the address bus. But A0 to A7 can be multiplexed with D0 to D7, but each of these lines or wires will be carrying only one signal, either address signal or data signal, not simultaneously. And how at a particular point of time it is storing the address, and in the latter time it is storing data, that is controlled through a latch called address latch. Okay. So, these things we will discuss afterwards, and with the help of another signal called ALE. ALE stands for address latch enable, right. Because since we are using the same set of wires for address and data bus, so we have to exclusively use another signal, or you can say it is an overhead. But we are taking the help of an extra signal, so which will control when to carry address and when to carry data, because we are using the same set of wires. Is it okay? So, then it also uses on chip address latch. As I told you, when it will be carrying data, this address must be latched. So, why the address should be latched? What is the reason of latching? Means it is some kind of storing, and latch is almost like a buffer, and it has to store the address or data for some time. Why it is required? Even if you do not store, what will happen? Suppose you do not store the address, what will happen? So, the reason is that Suppose we are assigning a 16-bit address, I am writing in hexadecimal. 2000H means you will understand it is 16 bits, right? And the next location address must be 2001, and the next location address will be 2, then 3, like this. Now, suppose you are accessing a memory location whose address is 2001. Now, after accessing that location, you are storing the data into that location. Is it clear? So, if you want to store the data, what about the address? Address will disappear from the bus and data will be there in the bus. And again, if you want to access the second location, the next location, unless you store 2001, I cannot get 2002. So, that is the reason that we must use a address latch, and which will temporarily store the address, and as and when it is required, it will be retrieved from that latch. I think understood what is the requirement of using a address latch. The main reason that due to the multiplexed address and data bus. So, okay. So, this is the next feature, on chip address latch is necessary, and which will be latching the address temporarily to get the new address or the next address. Then it supports a power supply that is plus 3 volt to plus 6 volt, and in average I am telling most of the time we use the plus 5 volt. Theoretically you can use plus 5 volt. Otherwise, it supports 3 types of power supply starting from plus 3 volt to plus 6 volt. Then its operating temperature starts from minus 40 degree to plus 85 degree. So, it can very well work in the normal temperature, and it can also work wherever you deploy this microprocessor whose temperature is in minus degree, because this microprocessor are designed to be useful throughout the world. It is not for India or not for a particular country. Throughout the world it will be useful. Therefore, the temperature varies from minus 40 degree to 85 degree, and since upper limit is 85 degree, it can be also useful for industrial environments, and that is the reason why most of the industries used 8085 as the microprocessor for controlling their process. Process means the entire industrial operation is controlled using 8085 microprocessor, right? Or 8085 microprocessor serves as a data acquisition system. It is a part of the data acquisition system to store the industrial data. For example, there are a number of materials used in an industry and which will be monitored. Monitored in the sense which needs to be measured, right? And how much is the quantity? Each of these quantity can be sensed by different sensors, and via microprocessor it can be stored in the memory of the microcomputer. And 8085 microprocessor is the unit which is directly attached to the process industry. For example, in Rourkela steel plant we have number of pots where the iron steel is produced, right, and different raw materials are put into that pot, and we maintain a particular temperature. Under that temperature, the finished products, after 1 hour of giving heat to the pot, you can see that the finished product is coming from the pot. But each and every component of that pot can be sensed by different sensors, and the sensors are connected to microprocessor, and this microprocessor what will do, it will simply forward this data to the memory. Now we can connect a personal computer some distance away, let us take 100 meters or 200 meters away. So, this personal computer will receive this data from the microprocessor memory, then you can write a software in high level language to display it using a graphical user interface. This is what the industry people do, particularly for mechanical industries like steel industries, aluminum industries. So, they make use of this 8085 microprocessor very frequently, because instead of utilizing so many manual power, only one microprocessor can serve a number of pots which are to be monitored in an industry. That is just one applications. Otherwise, it can be used in many other applications where you can put in the automobiles, etc. Right. So, this 8085 microprocessor, as I told you once upon a time, it was only microprocessor available for industrial use. After that we got 8086, 286 and so many, but till today also many industries they use 8086 and very few old industries they are still using 8085. So, this temperature range allows to use the microprocessor 8085 in various applications and at various parts of the world, right. So, then it next feature is on chip clock generator incorporating external crystal oscillator. So, there are two ways you can generate the clock pulse, either internally or you can attach an oscillator externally and which will produce the clock. So, what is a clock? It is simply a square pulse will be generated from this clock generator, but this square pulse will give the maximum frequency that a microprocessor can handle. And as I told you, the maximum frequency of 8085 is 5 megahertz. We cannot go beyond that, but there are various devices inside the microprocessor as well as the devices which are attached to the microprocessor 8085, they may not operate at 5 megahertz. They can operate with slower frequencies. Am I clear? So, this 5 megahertz is the maximum capacity, but there are devices inside the microprocessor or microcomputer system which can still work below 5 megahertz. Can you guess what are the devices that needs lower frequency as compared to the microprocessor? Because microprocessor is the fastest device in a microcomputer system. Memory is not as fast as microprocessor. I/O devices is not as fast as microprocessor. So, if microprocessor works in microsecond, then memory works in millisecond and I/O devices works in second. And the reason is very clear. Why the keyboard is operating in terms of second? Because it is directly coming contact with the users or human being. So, if an object moves in terms of microsecond or millisecond, our eyes are not designed to see those objects. And even if you try to put 1000 keys in 1 microsecond, is it possible? Can you type 1000 keys in a keyboard in 1 microsecond? Not possible. But these 1000 keys or 1000 characters can be processed by the microprocessor in terms of microsecond. So, from this it is clear that the microprocessor is the fastest device, next the slower device is the memory and the next slowest device is the I/O. And this hierarchy is what you call traditional and universal for any computing device in the world. Even if you try to design a memory system which is faster than a microprocessor, it is not simply feasible to design. Is it okay? So, we can say that the maximum speed, the most fastest device in a microcomputer, the microprocessor, then comes memory, then comes I/O devices. And if I divide the memory into different types, again semiconductor memories are faster as compared to the disk memories. I am not going to the exact classifications. Broadly, you can categorize the components into 3 types. One is CPU or microprocessor, second is memory and third is I/O devices. Even you can also find the difference between the speed in the I/O devices also. For example, a printer is slower than a mouse. Printer is also an I/O device and mouse is also an I/O device. So, magnetic memories are slower as compared to RAM, ROM, etc. Right? But can I say ROM is faster as compared to RAM? Again the technology will come into picture. What type of technology you are using? If you are using RTL technology, it is slower as compared to TTL. What is RTL? Register transistor logic, where the devices are manufactured using only register, one register and one transistor. But in TTL you can use both transistors without any registers, and TTLs are more faster as compared to RTL. So, again these are the device technology that we are not going to deeper into that, because that is taught in other subject like in digital electronics. So, here why I am telling only these 3 components are important for us. What is? The that one microprocessor, another is memory, another is I/O device. So, if the microprocessor operates at 5 megahertz, can you guess what should be the frequency of memory to support millisecond? That means there should be a parameter, frequency must be divided by a parameter, let us take C, and this C will determine the speed of the memory, right, and this C will decide what should be the frequency of the I/O devices. That means the maximum frequency I must divide, and you might have studied the counter. Counters can be used for dividing the frequency into smaller frequencies, right. So, after dividing, that frequency or that signal, clock signal will be connected to memory. So, the external clock generator, as I told you, that is crystal, that will generate around 10 megahertz. This is the clock frequency internally, but this will be divided by 2, which will be 5 megahertz and which will be connected to microprocessor. Then this 5 megahertz will be further divided into either 2 or 3 or 4, that we shall see, and which will be connected to memory, and again will be further divided to support the I/O devices, and this is how the synchronization is possible. And we shall see that how synchronization is very, very important as far as the operations in the microprocessor is concerned. Okay. So, then who is responsible for dividing this frequency? Because clock generator simply will generate the clock frequency of 10 megahertz. So, which device in a microcomputer system is responsible for generating different frequencies which will be required for microprocessor, memory and I/O devices? And since we are reading 8085 microprocessor, as I told you, everything should be specific. I cannot say clock generator. Had it been computer organization architecture, if you use the word clock generator, that is sufficient. So, here there is a particular another IC that is called 8284. So, I will keep on telling some peripheral chips which are attached to microprocessor 8085, which are responsible for generating their own functions. So, here 8284 is known as a clock generator. Its responsibility is to generate different size of clock frequencies which will be required for microprocessor, memory and I/O devices. So, anyway, from this it is clear that we have an on-chip clock generator incorporating external crystal oscillators. Again, we will more discuss about in details of 8284, what are the internal components available in 8284 and what are how many pins package it is. Since it is an IC, it will have a number of pins. So, next important is it has a on-chip system controller for timing and control unit. As I told you, the microprocessor has 3 components: ALU, control unit, another is registers. So, this on-chip control unit which is available inside the microprocessor, which will keep track the different operations or the clock pulses which is elapsing according to the frequency. Then it supports 4 vectored interrupts including NMI. NMI stands for non-maskable interrupt, right. Then first of all question comes, what is an interrupt? Okay, I will give an example for this. Suppose one student come to the class after half an hour of the class. Am I clear? So, he first reaches in the gate and he can ask a permission from me whether he will go inside the class or not. That is one way. Or he will not ask any permission, directly will go and sit in the bench. There are 2 solutions, right. So, but both the solutions, whenever he comes, that is called an interrupt. But if he asks me, that is also interrupt, and takes my permission, that is we can say one type of priority given to that interrupt. And if he directly sits in the bench, we can say that is given the another priority, and which will be given more priority. And if you ask me, I have to give permission, it will take some time. Am I clear? If I ask me and I will give permission, I may give permission or may not give permission. So, I have to decide. So, the decision may make some time. So, that is you can say disadvantage of the first solution. And if he directly sits, he saves the time. But at the same time, he also ignored me. That is called masking. So, when to ignore the interrupt and when to allow the interrupt. So, based upon this, it supports 4 vectored interrupts including NMI, and this we shall discuss whenever we go to the interrupt section of 8085. So, anyway, so as I told you, it supports the parallel CPU, 8-bit parallel CPU. At the same time, it supports serial input and serial output port. The data can be transferred serially bit by bit with the help of 2 pins, that is one is called SID, serial input data, and serial output data. And we will more discuss about how to access SID, and whenever there is a parallel support, what is the need of a serial support and how it is useful for us and what is its application, particularly for industry and for process control. Okay. So, then this is very clear, 64 kilobytes of memory, and this is because of the system address lines 2 to the power 16 64. Then as I told you, it is TTL compatible. TTL stands for transistor logic. That means each and every components are manufactured using only transistors. There can be multiple transistors. There are different types of logic, RTL, TTL, DTL. DTL stands for diode transistor logic. One diode and one transistor will be the basic unit to manufacture a gate. Then it is available in 2 versions. One is called 8085, another is called 8085A. So, 8085 and 8085A both are almost same except one feature, right. So, just you can verify in the laboratory or in the manual whether it is 8085 or 8085A. And what is the difference between 8085 and 8085A is a question and assignment. Just to search the net, search the manufacturing website of the Intel series of microprocessors, what is the meaning of this A and why they have given the 8085A. Just I am giving this an assignment questions. Okay, so this is what we discussed about the main features or the basic features of the 8085 microprocessor. And to draw the complete architecture, I think it will take almost half an hour, and partially we can discuss about the different architectural components of 8085 microprocessor, because the complete diagram it will take minimum half an hour to draw. Even after drawing also it is very difficult to show in a one page of paper. So, that is the reason why we never ask the question draw the architectural diagram of microprocessor 8085 or any microprocessor in the exam, because this itself will take minimum half an hour simply drawing. So, therefore, partially I will just discuss each and every component of the microprocessor 8085, and you can verify from the book or net what are the different architectural components. And the most important components of microprocessor 8085 is that its register organization, because as far as the assembly language program is concerned, the registers are very important, and as soon as we complete the register set, register organization and few instructions, you will be in a comfortable position to carry out the programs or experiments in the laboratory. So, therefore, register organization let us discuss. That is, one register is we call it is A stands for accumulator, then another is BC, D, HL, and this is what we call register organization of 8085. In some books they used to write programming model, because there are a lot of connection with the programming, therefore, it is called programming model of the microprocessor 8085. So, whether it is register organization or programming model, if the register organization of a microprocessor is better, then writing the program will be flexible. Better in the sense the number of registers will be more. If we are having more number of registers, the programmers will feel more flexible in writing the assembly language program. But at the same time, the moment you have the more number of registers, and since these registers are available inside microprocessor, the chip size will increase. IC size will, it will impact on the IC size, and that we do not want. So, there is a trade off. Now, if you increase the number of registers, programmers will feel flexible in writing the programs, that is the advantage side, and if you increase the number of registers, the IC size will be bigger. But our goal is to reduce the IC size. So, based upon these constraints, two constraints, a trade-off point is reached, and that is the reason why the 8085 designers suggested to keep the register organization small, and this is the only microprocessor in the entire microprocessor series which is having least number of registers. And you can easily guess that the number of instructions will be also less, instruction set will be less. In fact, there are total 76 instructions are only, and if you see the instruction set of 8086, there are 3000 at least, more than 3000 instructions are available. Why? Because its register organization is more richer or more powerful as compared to the 8085. So, as I told you, 8085 came before the digital computer came to the market, and it was mainly targeted for use in the process control industry. Therefore, they made this register organization very simple, because once you write the program, that is sufficient to control a specific operation. But 8086 was targeted for microprocessor for digital computer, but unfortunately before 8086 could come to the market, 8088 microprocessor has come, and that was rather more efficient at the 8086. Therefore, it became the first microprocessor to be used for the microcomputer or personal computer. Am I clear? So, anyway, so since we are reading 8085, so the register organization is very simple, as I told you, A, and this is called a flag register. So, total the size of this size of these registers are all of 8 bits, and if you take BC, we call a register pair. BC can be paired. Remember, BD cannot be paired, only the pairing is possible horizontally. Is it okay? Then D can be paired and HL can be paired, and of course A and flag can be paired with another name we call PSW. PSW stands for program status word, right. So, this register A, each of this register I have shown here, that is A, flag, B, C, these are of 8 bits, and when you pair two registers, so this will become 16 bits. Is it okay? And this A is very clear. A is the accumulator. It is one kind of special register. For any arithmetical and logical operation, it will be holding one of the operand, that is the first task. Second task of accumulator, that when the operation is over, it will store the result. Is it clear? So, do not confuse. That is A, there are two main tasks of the A, that always it will be holding one of the operand while performing any arithmetic and logical operation, and I will give the exhaustive list of operations that can be possible in 8085 ALU. Then accumulator always stores the result, and many instructions will see that accumulator is implicit. You need not write accumulator, by default it is understood, but if you write the accumulator in the instruction, that instruction will be erroneous, it will give a syntax error. If you are using assembly language 8085 simulator, it will give a syntax error. So, therefore, try to avoid the accumulator, but there are some instructions where you have to exclusively mention accumulator. Some instruction there will be accumulator is implicit, in some instructions accumulator must be explicit, and that will by practice. If you run 10 to 12 programs using 8085 assembly language program, you can easily understand when to use accumulator and when not to use accumulator. Okay. And flag is also an 8-bit register to support 5 flags, because what is a register? Register is divided into again number of cells. 8-bit register means 8 cells are there, and each cell is capable of storing either 0 or 1. So, this register is something different from register we are using for manufacturing the device or for as a component of the device, that is RESISTOR, and this register we are spelling it is spelling is REGISTR. In the simplest form, I can say that a register is made up of a group of flip flops, and every flip flop is able to store 0 or 1. And what type of flip flop? It will vary from register to register. You can use D flop, most oftenly you use the D flip flop, data flip flop, and D flip flop is derived from SR flip flop. T flip flop is derived from JK flip flop. But we are interested to have a flip flop, that is a D flip flop, which will be storing either 0 or 1, right. So, this 0 will indicate that flag is set, and 1 will indicate the flag is set, and 0 will indicate that flag is reset. Now, the question comes, what are the flags? You might be knowing in the train, when there will be a red flag, the train will stop, and whenever there will be a green flag, the train will move. So, in the same way, we have a carry flag, we have a 0 flag, we have a parity flag, and we have a auxiliary carry flag. There are 5 flags: carry flag, 0 flag, parity flag, and auxiliary carry flag, okay, sign flag. So, okay, so carry flag, 0 flag, parity flag, auxiliary carry flag, sign flag. Sign, that as the name indicates, you might you can guess easily. So, sign flag means each of these flag can be 1 or 0. When the result of the operation is negative, it will be 1, and when the result of the operation is positive, it will be 0. Okay. And what is parity flag? If the number of bits in the data including the parity bit is odd, this flag will be set. It follows the odd parity scheme, not even parity, and we shall see that 8086 follows even parity scheme. So, odd parity scheme means the number of ones in the 8-bit data and including this parity bit should be odd. Is it okay? So, that is okay. We will discuss more about the parity flag and how to use, and for every flag there are associated instructions. Then 0 flag, when the result of the operation is 0. For example, you are subtracting 5 minus 5, result is 0, and this flag will be set. So, you may be asking why these flags are there. See, the operations are done internally, we cannot see in our eyes and we cannot keep track, but by using this, by accessing these flags from the microprocessor, we can monitor the activity of the operations. Therefore, these flags are there. And another is carry flag. Suppose you are adding an 8-bit data with another 8-bit data, but there is chance that you may get the 9th bit in the result, is not it? Most oftenly, for example, if I add 100 100 with 11 100, so result is 100 11101. So, how to know that where is this 1 is stored? So, the moment carry is generated, the carry flag will be set to 1, and if the carry is not generated, this will remain as 0, and if the carry is generated, I have to do some operation with the help of another instruction. So, I can access this carry flag and perform my operation. We shall see, once you write 2 or 3 programs using carry flag and each of these flags, you can know that how to keep track of the execution process of a particular program. So, anyway, so this is the flag. We will discuss more about the flag whenever we will go to the instruction set. Then I think accumulator and flag is very clear, and both are combined. If you combine these two, we call program status word. And do not confuse with the program status word whatever you have studied in computer architecture or computer organization or operating system. because the same term is used differently in different places. But here program status word means accumulator plus flag. Even if you see 8086 microprocessor, we use the PSW word accumulator plus interrupt. If you see the operating system, program status word includes flags, accumulator flags and the interrupts only, without considering the accumulator. So, PSW means the program status word as far as the 8085 microprocessor is concerned. So, it has accumulator register and a flag register, and when you combine this will become a 16-bit word, and that is serving as the PSW, program status word. Is it okay? So, then as I told you, B is an 8-bit register, C is an 8-bit register, D is an 8-bit register, E is an 8-bit register, and H is an 8-bit register, and L is an 8-bit register, and BC can be paired to make it 16-bit, because sometimes you may be interested for 16-bit operation and you can use the register pair. But while using the program or while using these registers in writing your program, what happens? You may have to utilize these registers, okay, but try to see that the same register should not be used for more than one purpose. The moment you use and unless you save the content of for the previous operation, what will happen? Your data will be lost. So, what to do? Suppose I use the register B for some operation in the same program, in one program, and in the same program in some later time in some other instructions I am using the same register B for other purpose. So, the previous content will be modified, and if the previous content is dependent, then you can keep it, and if it is independent, you have to save somewhere, and where it will be saved? What is the easiest data structure and the most flexible data structure to save the data temporarily, we cannot say temporarily, to save the data for its future use. So, most oftenly we shall use stack, and you know that stack is a data structure which follows the which principle? LIFO, that is last in first out operation, but the kind of stack you have studied in data structure subject, that you call a logical stack. It is not a physical stack. Why? Because there you are giving a logical number or address to each location of the stack, but here a memory location address will be given to the stack, that we call physical stack, and you have to clearly define what is the bottom of the stack and what is the top of the stack, right. So, all these things we shall discuss how to there is a section we will discuss about stack and subroutines. Is it okay? So, this is about the register organization, but this is the basic register organization of 8085. In addition to this, we have another two registers, one is called PC, another is called SP. PC stands for program counter and SP stands for stack pointer, and this there is no splitting of the PC and SP. So, program counter is a register whose size is 16-bit and it always holds the address of the instruction to be executed. Whatever you have studied in computer organization architecture, we sometimes call PC, IC, LC, all IC. Yes. So, personal computer, program counter, do not confuse with personal computer, and IC stands for here not integrated circuit, instruction counter, and LC stands for location counter. So, different books follow different terminologies, and we will use only the most defined term for 8085 microprocessor is program counter, and its definition is that it is a register, 16-bit register, always holds the address of the next instruction to be executed, or it governs the control of execution whenever you are executing a program on a microcomputer. So, anyway, that PC, how the PC is operating, that we shall see, and just to remember that it is a 16-bit address register, it never stores the data, always it stores the address. Similarly, stack pointer is a register, so which will hold the address of the 16-bit, it is a 16-bit, it will store the 16-bit address to keep track the top of the stack. Whatever may be the top of the stack means a 16-bit memory location address. As I told you, we will be dealing with the physical stack. A part of the memory location can be out of 64 kilobyte, you can define few locations as a stack, and you can mark that this is the bottom of the stack, and you can control the top of the stack by using the register stack pointer. For deletion operation, because only two operations are carried out, one is deletion, another is insertion, and all things will be possible by the help of stack pointer, right. And how to save the data into the stack and how to retrieve the element from the stack for execution, that we shall see whenever we discuss about the stack and subroutines, because mainly the stack is useful for subroutines and interrupts, because without stack it is very difficult to implement interrupts. And there are some microprocessors, they also try to implement interrupts without using stack, but those microprocessors are very powerful in the sense that they have enough memory and their architecture is very efficient, and we shall see what is the efficiency in the architecture. So, if you see this 8085, it is very simple as compared to the 8086, and if you see 8086 is very simple as compared to 286. As you go on seeing the upper level of microprocessors, you will find that a lot of computer architectural features have been incorporated into their design, like pipelining, superscalar architecture. All these are the things which are usually the topics of computer organization architecture. They are found in the advanced microprocessors. But as I told you, 8085 is very simple, easy to understand, easy to remember, and easy to write the program using 8085. But that easiness is not possible for 8086, that you can easily feel that how difficult it is to write a program and to remember the 3000 instructions for 8086. But here in 8085 it is possible to remember all the instructions of the 8085. It is not that you have to by heart, you have to write enough number of programs. Just write 20 programs, you will remember each and every instructions. And I have seen that some people also remember the corresponding hex code for each of these instruction, right. So, if you remember, there is no harm, but it is not necessary to remember the hex code, but certainly you have to remember the instructions, otherwise difficult to write the program.